Hello, 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 I'm Cupid, and today we're going to be talking about the perceived laziness of Gen Z, because I don't think that Gen Z is lazy. Controversial take. I think that there are a variety of other factors that kind of affect why the older generations look at us and think, they don't want to fucking work. Someone call Kim Kardashian. Because, there's just, life is crazy. And I just want to kind of look at it through a lens. What lens? Who knows? But yeah, let's talk about Gen Z. And if you enjoy this, I think this is where I'm supposed to say like and subscribe. Do that. Also, it's funny I'm talking about laziness because I totally put off doing this video to play Mouse PI for Hire, which just released, and it's such a good game if you love a shooter. It's so good. Try it. I fucking love it. Anyways, let's talk about Gen Z. There's gonna be some old person watching this and being like, God, these fucking Gen Z, these fucking youngins being like, I'm not lazy. Shush. Shush. But no, I do think that it's really interesting that Gen Z does have this label of being, like, lazy. Because I don't think you can classify an entire generation as, like, being lazy. Like, I just don't really think that that works. Sorry, that's just my hot take. I don't think you can classify an entire generation as something. I guess I can't say that because I do think that a lot of old people are racist. But I've been proven that. Also segregate, so whatever. But yeah, it's like you can't box a whole group of people in as like lazy or whatever just because you like don't think that they're that passionate about their jobs. Especially because I think that like there's a lot of jobs nowadays that don't do anything, which sounds silly. Obviously, every job does something to a degree, but like let me walk you through this. I just feel like there are so many jobs, specifically, I think a lot of office jobs I hear where you're just not doing anything. Like you're getting paid to honestly essentially just kind of like sit there and pretend to be busy. There's this common sentiment I see, especially like when it comes to like office jobs. I think that's where I see this the most, where people will just be like, I'm getting paid for nothing, right? Because so many of these jobs have you do something, they'll give you like work, and you really don't need nearly as much time as they're giving you, which does maybe say something about how knowledgeable some of these people are on the work that the company's doing, but that's a whole other conversation, right? Right? Like you're given this work and they're like, yeah, take a week for it. Meanwhile, I only need like 5 hours, really. Right? But like you don't want to say, hey, I finished this, like, can I get more work? Because, like being fast, being good at your job is never rewarded with like raises or promotions, it seems. It seems like they just give you more stuff to do on top of what you were always doing. Because, I don't know, for some reason, corporate America loves to reward people with punishments.
My job has this really cool thing where if you do your job very well, then you get to do everybody else's job too. Every day.
Right? And so, because there's nothing to do, because there's just like not enough work, right? Like you're kind of just, you have to pretend to be busy because nothing gets people in middle management more upset than their workers having downtime because, God forbid, the people that you hired can do their job well and quickly. God forbid, right? Like, you're just essentially being paid to act like you're being busy. And maybe this is just a me thing, but I find that pretending to be busy and trying to like find something is so much more draining than actually working, right? I feel like when I'm actually working, like I've had like, like 8 hour shifts where I am like lugging stuff all over the fucking store. Like I am going back and forth. I'm constantly with customers. Like I am busy. And I find that those shifts feel so much nicer than like the shorter like 5 hour shifts I've done where I'm just kind of sitting in my department, not doing anything because there's nothing I can do really. Like I just find that that is so much more draining to me because I just like I want something to do. I need something to do. But there are just so many office jobs. And those are, the things that are kind of accessible to a lot of people. I think a large part of the job market is office jobs. So like people kind of have to do this, but like they're not happy because they have nothing to do. They know that they're getting paid to effectively just sit there, and that's not fun. I think most people want to do something that actually feels fulfilling to them. I think the thing that kind of interests me most with this like notion of Gen Z and like their like laziness, right? Like their the fact that they very obviously don't like work is the fact that I think they do when they are given tasks that feel fulfilling, right? Like, I feel like as a society, like we as humans want to do something, right? Like, I feel like most of us, when left to our own devices, want to do something that feels important or feels like good, you know? For some people, that's like learning a new skill or being creative or working out. And I think that work can be fulfilling, but the jobs that feel fulfilling don't feel worth it. And like, hey, right? Like, I know that like the way they should like feel worth it should be like the fact that you know that you're making a difference and you're doing good. But unfortunately, making a difference isn't going to pay your rent. That's how you, yeah, me going up to my landlord saying, hey, so I know I'm late, but like I'm helping a lot of people.
I don't give a fuck. Do I look like I give a fuck? Because I don't. I don't care. I don't care. I'm great.
He doesn't give a fuck. He does not care. You know, like, unfortunately, like, pay, and I mean work conditions, obviously, are just as important as, like, how fulfilled you feel doing your job. And a lot of people are going to choose money over, like, fulfillment, especially when the money is enough to, like, drastically change their life, right? And I think that when we think about jobs that kind of, you know, feel impactful in the world, we think about things like teachers and nurses and firefighters, which all are great and amazing, and I have so much respect for anyone in any of those fields. But I do think that there are very obvious, like, bad parts about these jobs, right? I mean, teachers, God, I mean, why don't they get paid? We all know that they just do not make enough money, and I feel like no one's that upset about that, right? Like, these are the people in charge of like an entire generation effectively, and they also, I feel like, work more than 40 hours a week. I feel like that's something I also hear, like so many of them help with like extracurriculars, or like if you're like an arts teacher, like you kind of are just required to stay after, which is so weird too, because like I feel like there's this pedestal and arts just aren't seen as that important compared to other teachers, but that, whatever, right? That's another thing. But they are paid in like breadcrumbs despite how much work they do and despite how important their job is, and people are just like, yeah, it's just how it is, I guess. What? It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. Why are we giving so much money to the military? Why are we not funding our public schools? But right, teaching, it just like does not make money, and we all know that. Whereas like with nurses, you do make a bit more money, but like the conditions are so brutal. Nursing has got to be some test from God to see which of us are gonna like have to fight in some eternal war, because nurses have so much endurance, and like genuinely, if you are able to do that job, I like I applaud you if you can do any of these, honestly. But like, wow. Because like when I hear about what nurses have to do, I'm like, no wonder there's a nurse shortage, because I don't think many people want to play what liquid it is on me, who does it belong to, and do I have time to change? The answer to the last question I feel like is probably no, because there's a nurse shortage and there's so many people who need help all the time. Whenever I think of nurses, I think of that one girl who was like, this is me 12 hours after my shift, and she genuinely looked like she had just fought in the war. I hope she's doing all right now. Shout out Brittany.
Hi, this is Brittany, 12 hours before my shift. 12 hours after my shift.
Obviously, too, firefighters they're kind of iffy, because like sometimes you can make a lot of money doing them, but I mean, when you're like risking your life, obviously, which is like super like whoa, but also like it's kind of very uppity. Like there are some places where like firefighters are making like part-time job wages. Like it's not good, because it really is dependent on like city, and like seniority I think is a big thing too from what I was reading. So like, you know, that's the thing too, like you have to spend so much time dedicated to risking your life that it's like, yeah, after risking your life for X amount of years, if you make it to that point, yeah, I guess we can pay you. Or if, you know, you're in a big city where you're kind of constantly doing stuff, like, yeah, we'll pay you. Which, like, you should just be paying them more for doing this in the first place. Sorry. And so I think that it is interesting, because Gen Z, I think, does want to work, but the fields and industries that feel good to be in just aren't, there's not enough resources, right? The conditions aren't good enough, or you're not being paid enough, or like, you know, even outside of these jobs where you're like actively making a difference, there's also, you know, creative jobs that are hard to get into, you know, things like that where people would love to do this stuff. People would feel so fulfilled, but long term, it's just not really viable. And I think that if we poured our resources and put like more of our funding into these jobs, we would see people flock to this because, like I said, it just feels better to do work that you know matters. I think most people really don't want to sit in front of a computer twiddling their thumbs for 40 hours a week. Call me crazy. I just don't think that that's true. Sorry. Sorry to all the CEOs of Johnson & Johnson. Well, I guess there's only one CEO of Johnson & Johnson. I can't think of the word law firms, accounting places. Girl, cut to the skit. All right, and here's your desk. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to buy a ton of sticky notes that I'm gonna tell myself I'll use to set reminders, but really I'm just gonna like doodle on them when I'm bored. Truly a rite of passage. Now, since it's your first day, the boss told me to just give you your first assignment. All right, lay it on me. Okay, well, just a warning, this is gonna be pretty big. We're giving you a whole week to do this because it's a lot. No worries, you're in super capable hands. Well, sort of. I lied on my resume. What? Huh? Nothing. Okay, anyways. Well, obviously we hired you for your math degree, so we're just gonna have you run some numbers for us. Oh, yeah, that'll be easy enough. I'm sure I can Google how to do math. Well, here you go. Is this a joke? What do you mean? This is a kindergarten math assignment. Dang, it's really that easy for you? I knew you were right. No, like, this is literally for kindergartners. Like, there's a coloring sheet on the back. Oh, so you need an extra day because there's a back assignment. That's so fair. Am I getting pranked? Is it punked? What? Huh? Well, I wish I could stay and chat, but I've got a meeting from 9 to 9:10, so... Why do you only have a meeting for 10 minutes? Oh, no, it's from 9 a.m. to 9:10 p.m. What the hell are you guys talking about? Oh, it's just our pre-meeting for next week's meeting, just to make sure we have all the notes ready. And you need 12 hours? Yeah, I mean, I think we're cutting it like a little short, but I'm sure we'll be fine. But anyways, if you need any help, I'm sure you can find someone here. You know, I think I'll be good. I knew you were smart. And now another thing that I feel like we complain about all the time, and older people are just like, I'm just not gonna listen to you. What are you talking about?
I can't hear you! It's too dark in here!
Has to do with job hunting and like the application process, because why is it so hard to get a job? And that's just something you can't explain to old people because like they have experience, right? They have credentials. Like they can very easily shift from places because they have experience, and that's like so big, right? Entry-level jobs just aren't really like a big thing now because every entry-level job's like, you need 5 years of experience. And it's like, so how am I supposed to enter if I need the experience to enter? Where am I? Like, it's just so hard to get a job now. I saw an episode of Euphoria. I don't watch Euphoria, but I saw like a clip of Euphoria where one of the characters is like going up to this woman and being like, this is why you should hire me. And she was like, oh, okay.
I know I'm not what you're looking for. I didn't go to USC. I didn't even apply to college. My parents were immigrants. I know my generation's entitled, but I don't believe anybody owes me anything. I'm not a victim. I won't be an HR nightmare, and I believe in capitalism.
And I was like, whoever wrote this has got to be 40, because that's just not how that works. Like, I know you have not had to apply to a job in years, because you can't do that. Like, everything's online now. Everything is online now, and oh my god, I swear to god, it's not people reading it. Not even I swear to god, it's not. Like, we've been told that time and time again, that, like, now it's just, like, bots, like, seeing how much, like, jargon you have in your resume, and if you, like, click enough of the buzzwords, like, a person maybe, will read your resume, and it's like, girl, shouldn't you just be reading them all? That's your job. Girl, do your job. Wow, here I am complaining about people not doing their job. I feel very middle-aged right now. Wow. But, you know, honestly, like, I don't even really care that much about, like, this weird, like, filtering when it comes to application. I do care, right? Like, I do care. But I also know that, like, most people are aware of this to a certain extent. Like, they kind of know that just include some, like, jargon in your thing, and people are gonna, you know, be like, oh, you know what you're doing. And it's like, no, I don't. I just looked up synonyms for responsible and bookkeeping. Like, girl, anyways. But my issue, what grinds my gears, what, I can't think of another metaphor, what gets me going is ghost jobs. And for anyone who doesn't know what a ghost job is basically like a job that doesn't really exist. It's either A, put out there so like corporate is happy because, you know, the like branch or whatever like is allegedly looking for a new employee, right? But really they're just like giving someone else more work and not paying them enough money. Or they're kind of using this like job posting as like this database, right? They see people applying and they're like, great, when we actually need to fill this job or another job, then we have like just basically a list of people who are clearly interested in the company that we can contact. And honestly, they probably know that even if it's not that job, like they'll just take anything at this point. And I hate ghost jobs. Someone call up Luigi because I have some ghosts that need to be cleared, right? Get his fucking vacuum and get rid of these jobs. Why are they there? Why are companies so awful? Because I just feel like this hurts the workers so much. Do you know how shitty it must feel to have like a bachelor's degree and you can't even get a cashier job? Because the cashier job didn't even exist. You can't even get like any entry-level office jobs because they didn't exist. They're not real. It's all in your head, right? It's like, I feel like I'm going insane. Like I'm going to a psychiatrist being like, I see these jobs everywhere, but no one's coming to me. And they're like, yeah, they don't exist. You're crazy. Let's get you some meds, Diva. But like, yeah, no, it sucks because like you're just sending in all these applications praying for someone to see it and they just don't. And at some point you're like, am I the problem? Because I'm sending in so many things and not even hearing from anyone. So like, maybe I did something. And then when you hear from like a job and they like actually reject you, because for some they never send rejection emails. It's like 8 months later. One time I applied to a job and I got like a rejection email back a year later. I had switched departments in my current job 2 times. By the time that I got this rejection email, I was like, what? Huh? What are we doing? I feel like old people are like so weird, like weirded out by the fact that like so many people just aren't trying to get like a traditional job. Not even not trying, it's just like they can't, right? And so everyone's trying to be like an influencer now or something because it's like, girl, I can't get fired from being an influencer. Well, I guess I can get canceled. But you just have to not talk to minors, which is really easy, actually. So why do so many people, in this essay I will, no, like, you know, like you can't get rejected from being an influencer. So like, yeah, no shit people are trying to do that because like, at least honestly, there's not even less stability in that than like an actual job because I feel like there are so many layoffs now. We had Amazon, we had Meta, we had Epic Games, we had like 20% of it's like people. Amazon cut, like I have some numbers here, Amazon cut 30,000 jobs. Like, yeah, you know what? I suddenly get why people aren't in the traditional market because 1, like, we can't, 2, we can, and 3, right, we can't. Like, yeah, girl. Yeah, Diva. Like, it's like, oh my god. Right? And like I said, the thing that sucks is, like, when you get rejected, like, I would rather a rejection email. Like, because at least then I know that, you know what, you at least looked at it, and you at least said, hey. And maybe you'll give me some pointers, like, how to make this look better, or, like, do something, right? Instead of just, like, ghosting me. I would really just tell me my resume sucks. At least I'll learn something. I'm begging. I say I'm begging. I haven't applied to a job in years. I'm like, okay, I got an email. I got an email from a job. Okay. This is big. Okay. Mr. Silly's Fun Time Cloud Brothel. I applied to that like 2 years ago. Okay, well, yeah. Hey, you know, maybe they just had me on file and they knew that now would be the perfect time for me. Okay. Dear Mr. Need a Job. Honestly, the fact that you sent us this application and thought it was worthy of even being read by a robot is actually criminal. We've reported you to the police. We at Mr. Silly Funtime Cloud Brothel do not run a joke business. We are serious about what we do, and this application looks like it was handwritten by a 5-year-old that didn't have arms. You should genuinely be ashamed that you even applied anywhere, because an application this bad deserves to be used as a murder weapon, with the victim being you. Speaking of victims, that's what we felt like after our eyes burnt to a crisp after reading the email that you sent. If anyone told you that this was good in any way, shape, or form, you should cut them out of your life, because they truly do not want you to succeed. However, if no one told you that this was good, which we suspect no one did, and you still submitted it anyways, anyone within a 5-foot radius of you should run away, because you should not be allowed near people, plants, animals, or literally anything that's living. Honestly, we almost thought about hiring you because you clearly had an unadulterated amount of confidence. However, we decided we'd save ourselves the headache of having someone who is so happy to be so wrong all the time.
Wait,
Although
what?
you might not be right for us at this time, we will keep your resume on file for future considerations.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Just kidding, bitch. We're burning the computer that we
Okay,
read this email on and making sure that it doesn't somehow have a virus. We hope you kill yourself, you untalented, unqualified dumbass.
And last thing I want to kind of touch base on is just that I think Gen Z is in like a really interesting position when it comes to how they view the workforce. Because, you know, like, obviously social media is such an eye-opener. And social media is comprised pretty largely by young people. And so they kind of get this insight into how people who have been working for some time feel about their jobs. And it seems to never be good. It really does seem to be, like, across all platforms, I'm constantly hearing people talk about how much they don't like working, or they don't like working for their specific company, or, you know, like, they feel like they wasted their years because they got a college degree, and suddenly, like, they're either working in a field that they fucking hate, or, like, it's not doing anything. And so, you know, suddenly it's like, we realize, wow, like, working sucks. No one seems to enjoy this. Why is everyone complaining? I'm scared. And I do think that on another level, too, like, Gen Z is just very aware of what, like, our parents have had to go through. Like, we have, you know, obviously everyone's seen their parents struggle and, like, seen the kind of issues that happen when you dedicate so much time to work. But I feel like with Gen Z, like, we are kind of, I think we notice it more because we realize that, like, the workforce is kind of ass. Like, I think that we notice that, like, so many of our parents have had to kind of not be there for our milestones because they didn't feel like they could afford it, because they had to work to support, you know, us and our upbringing. And, you know, it's just like, we realize that a lot of times you do all this, you put your heart and soul into this, and you get nothing. Like, you know, these people are missing, like, childhood milestones. They're missing, like, birthdays, hangouts. Like, they're missing life. And we see that they're not happy. They're just doing this to survive, right? They're doing this for, like, you know, a lot of times other people. And we realize that, like, we don't have those other people, right? We don't need to necessarily work right now because hopefully most of us don't have kids. Fingers crossed. I mean, the age is, like, going up, I think. And I think that, you know, not having children really, you kind of realize just how much your parents lost. And it's so sad because, you know, they're in this endless rat race, just begging for a promotion or a raise or something to help them financially so they don't have to keep doing this. And they just get nothing. And we know this. And, like, we learn at such a young age that work doesn't mean you're going to get anything. A lot of us have learned that nepotism is what's going to get you stuff. And, you know, we kind of sit here and we're like, well, why are we doing this? What is the goal at the end of the day? What do I get out of sacrificing my entire life just for someone who doesn't care if I live or die? At the end of the day, what's the point? Gen Z is just in such an interesting place, I think, you know, especially, like I said, with social media and stuff. I think that Gen Z has realized things that you don't really realize until you are in the workforce and you kind of see it firsthand, right? Like I said, we know nepotism sucks. We know that companies are never going to pay us what we're worth. And we know that hard work is never going to be equal to good pay. I don't think it ever was, personally. I think that most people kind of just got lucky or had connections. Obviously, there are outliers, but that's not the norm, right? And so it's just, and we're constantly told that we are the issue, right? Despite everything that I listed, we're constantly told that the issues are us and that we are just inherently lazy.
And it sucks to hear that. It sucks to hear that too, because these people aren't willing to hear that, like, no. I mean, obviously, I'm sure some of us are, just kind of lazy, and that's fine. Whatever. I'm not going to harp you on that. But people won't even listen to us. People won't even look at any sort of metric to prove that, yes, we do have it hard, because that's just kind of like the dues you have to face. And it sucks that nothing really seems to change. And I don't know. I mean, I think that when you feel kind of hopeless, when corporate America has kind of like crushed you, I mean, I just think that many of the people that are struggling with this, most Gen Z, are pretty young. And I think, and this is me saying this as a maybe naive 21-year-old, right? I truly at the end of the day don't know that much. I'm gonna, look back on this video and maybe I'll be like, huh, can't believe you said that, Diva. But I hope that I look back and I'm like, I'm glad that you said this. I do think that people should follow their hearts, which is so corny, I know that. But I mean, when the economy sucks and stability doesn't really exist and jobs don't really exist, it's like, you know what? Follow your dreams, man. Like, I don't know. I think at this point it's just like, do whatever, because it seems like nothing is really paying off anymore. So why not? Like, who am I to like tell you what to do? I guess I am telling you what to do, just follow your heart, but listen to your heart and what that wants to do. I don't know. I mean, I think that ultimately, like, whatever you do, dear viewer who's watching, if you've made it to the end, whatever you're doing, I just feel like, I hope it goes well. Like, I do truly, from the bottom of my heart, hope that it goes well, and I hope that whatever you do makes you happy. That is what I want at the end of the day, is for you to be happy doing whatever the hell you want. So, hi, or bye, I guess. I'm Cupid, and I hope you're doing all right. I hope that the corporate world hasn't crushed your soul. I hope that there's still some fight in there, and I hope that eventually down the road that you are able to do something that truly makes you happy. Heart emoji, smiley face emoji.